Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Bank of England live stream today. We're going to be discussing everything Bank of England. We're going to be discussing what's going on in the UK at the moment, but most importantly, we're going to be discussing the Bank of England interest rate decision coming up very, very shortly. We've already had one central bank decision today, which was the Swiss National Bank, and the Swiss National Bank cut rates. So really interesting to see that. Let me know in the chat, what do you think the Bank of England is going to do today? Are we going to see a cut today from the Bank of England? Let me know in the chat. Let me know your thoughts. I'll let you know my thoughts in a moment as we go through some of the charts. But we're going to be taking a look at cable, possibly going to have a little look at pound yen as well. Obviously, we'll have a little look at how this is going to impact the FTSE 100 as well. Yeah, so we've got Mobish in here. Welcome. If the rate remains uncut, I think the pound will be bearish. Okay. Now, the chances of a rate cut in this meeting in particular is very low, very, very low, despite the fact that we had headline inflation coming down to the Bank of England target of 2%. Okay. Farouk, 5.25. Yeah. Let me just open this out, actually, so you can see what we're going to be looking at going into today. So the CPI on Wednesday, or yesterday, came in at 2%, right? That is the headline targets for the Bank of England. And everybody now is kind of looking to the Bank of England to see what they'll do next. Will they begin to start cutting rates off the back of this information? The only problem the Bank of England have got right now is the general election. General election coming in July, I think the 4th of July, I want to say that off the top of my head. I think it's Thursday, the 4th of July, where we vote in the general election. If you are from the UK, like myself, so let me know if you are from the UK, because you'll be voting as well, hopefully on Thursday, the 4th of July. So we'll know what's going on in terms of who will be the new Prime Minister. It's looking very unlikely that it's going to be Rishi Sunak right now. But the Bank of England are going to be mindful of those election risks, right? If somebody comes into power that is unexpected, then is that going to have a very aggressive impact on the price of the pound? And if that is the case, how is that going to impact monetary policy going forward? Are the Bank of England leaving rates higher for longer as well, just to be a little bit more confident that they're not going to see anything that's going to drastically impact the markets, where they're going to need that breathing room to cut interest rates? So I feel like the Bank of England are going to hold. If we look at Sonia, okay, just get it up. Which is the Sterling Overnight Index. Let me just get it up here. Sorry, I thought it was on a different chart, but it's not. It's down here. Where have I put it? Futures rates. Then the chances of a rate cut are fairly low here. Right now, we have seen a little bit of movement in it over the past kind of couple of weeks, a little bit of a move higher. So yeah, the chances of a rate cut in this meeting are fairly low right now. So expecting a hold 5.25%. They're actually expecting cuts more towards September, potentially August, depending on how the rest of the sort of information comes out of the UK. Again, they want to confirm that inflation is going to continue to, or headline inflation is going to come down still. They also want to confirm the sort of labour market statistics as well. It all hinges on the labour market for me. How is the market reacting to employment and things like that. So we're going to be taking a look at pound US dollar today. You can see I've got some levels on the chart. Let me know if you're trading today. I'll be interested to know if anybody's actually trading this event. I don't particularly trade high impact news, but what I do look for is the idea of where the market will move towards in terms of overall kind of levels, in terms of volume. So I will be taking a look at that. We've obviously got a lot of volume to the upside as well, because we've had a sort of substantial move to the downside from the 13th of June, which was all driven by that sort of strong US data, or the FOMC. Essentially, we had the CPI data, FOMC on the same day on Wednesday, the 12th of June. FOMC pretty much reversed the CPI data, and we saw a big move. So we do have higher volumes coming up towards the 127.40s. That might be a target for price if we do see a little bit more of a hawkish stance from the Bank of England. Question from Herc. Welcome to the stream, Herc. Hope you're doing well. Is the Swiss Central Bank known for doing unforeseen rate cuts and hikes? You would think that, right? Because the past two meetings, they've surprised the market, really. Or the last time they cut rates anyway, they surprised the market by cutting 25 basis points. I think the Swiss want to see a weaker Swiss franc, and they're not getting it at the moment because maybe of the political unrest within Europe at the moment. European markets moving to the Swiss as a potential safe haven in that case because of the lower interest rates, which is not necessarily proven to be what they necessarily want to happen in Switzerland right now. So there is the idea that they want to try and weaken the Swiss franc slightly, but they're not getting it at the moment. So we'll have to wait and see whether they do. I haven't actually looked into the press conference just yet. Obviously, I saw the data drop this morning. Didn't have a chance to take a look at the press conference. So I don't know what the SNB chairman is actually looking for right now. Let me just have a quick little look at some headlines just to see if there was anything in there that is shocking to me. So a headline I'm reading now: FX intervention can be in both directions. Jordan continues to emphasize that the franc has seen an appreciation of late. So he's trying to tell us that there's been a strong appreciation of the Swiss franc, which may not have a good impact on monetary conditions. Exchange rates play a very important role as it influences the inflation outlook. Will adjust policy rates to ensure inflation stays in the range of price stability. So yeah, the headline here is the fact that he continues to allude to the franc having appreciated should be a signal that they'll be backing off after having been suspected of intervening in recent weeks. The key takeaway from all of this is the change in narrative from Jordan in May. He said that a weaker franc is the main source of inflation. Today, there isn't any mention resembling that whatsoever. So yeah. Let's have a little look at this other question. Sorry. I want to go bearish. What do you think on pound? Okay, yeah. I like the idea of being bearish pound from the political point of view. I think that if we see a change in government, I think we're going to see some downside because change initially does breed that downside in the markets, but also from different kind of policies. There is I was speaking over on Trade Delicious today, this morning, and we were discussing the idea that the polling, and depending on which party gets in, could be a little bit more disastrous for the pound, because the Reform Party, which is run by Nigel Farage, has started to gain some traction in the polls, and yeah, I think that could be fairly bearish for the pound if Nigel Farage comes into power. But let's have a little look at what's going on today then. Let's get into this. We've got 4 minutes until the announcement. What I'll be looking for, or what conditions can we necessarily be looking for when it comes to this announcement on the bearish and the bullish side? Okay, so on the bearish side of things, obviously, if we get a rate cut, that will be bearish for the price of pound. What I'm going to be looking for though here is the MPC official bank rate vote. So last time this came out, we had a move from 0.18. So the way this is set up right now is how many members want to hike interest rates, how many members want to cut interest rates, how many members want to hold interest rates. Okay, so the previous, we saw 2 members calling for a cut in rates, and I'm expected to see how, or I'm interested to see if this changes, if this number changes now that we did get headline inflation down towards that 3%. I think this is what everyone's going to be 2%. I think that's what everyone's going to be focusing on in this upcoming meeting. In fact, I think if you see a 0.36, that could be a little bit bearish for the pound, because it means that we're probably looking more towards a cut. If it remains 0.27 and a 5.25%, I don't think that's necessarily a potential trading environment for us in terms of where's the narrative there. Nothing's changed. So where's this kind of positioning from that kind of point of view? So yeah, that's kind of my hot take on what we could see. Obviously, rate hike is not in the question, so we shouldn't see anything there. But this number is going to be, in particular, quite important. So we'll see how that kind of shapes up very, very shortly. Talking about some levels then, very quickly. Carol, can upcoming elections in England impact the pound? Yeah, absolutely. We'll discuss the how it's going to impact the pound after the data drops. I did just discuss it a little bit earlier, but we'll kind of go over that. Now, for me, the market moves to volume levels. So, you know, I'm looking at how the market is building up volume. We've got this huge volume level that formed on Tuesday. Price is kind of sticking around that at the moment. You can see I've also got a anchored VWAP on price, and price has tested that anchored VWAP and has found a little bit of support. If we get a move to the upside, I think this move could be slightly faded, and where I'm looking for that is potentially around the anchored VWAP at 27.15 or yesterday's volume area around about 27.30. I think if we get a move up into here, we could see a little bit of resistance being found at that point. But if we break lower, where's the market going to go to? Well, we've kind of already tested in and around this volume area here with this move where we saw lots of buying coming back into the market. But it could be tested again. You know, the market may feel like it could go all the way down into 126.75. I don't think this event is going to be a huge one if we get things looking the same. We've got 1 second to go. Let's have a look. Let's see if there's been any changes. So we're looking at this number here, really. If we get a change in this number, I think it'll be bearish for the pound right now. Hope everyone's doing well anyway. Hello, Vincent. Let me know who's in the chat. Hi, Royston. Hope you're doing well. We're having a little look. So we've got the official bank rate hold at 5.25%. Just waiting for the MPC vote. We are seeing some bearishness in the pound on the short term right now. We'll see if what this vote comes out of. Just needs it to update, which is taking its time. If anyone's got this quicker than me, let me know. Let me go on the other calendar. See if it's come out. Any changes to the vote? So the vote's unchanged, actually. The vote is actually unchanged. Actually, no, I've said that, and I've gone a little bit early on that. Yeah, there we go. It hasn't actually changed. The market's still seeing this as bearish, though, which is quite interesting. Market's still seeing that move as fairly bearish, considering we've got the inflation headline coming down, 0.27. I actually thought we'd probably see a little bit of a move here. So why pound is selling off of data we already know, just must be priced in on what we're seeing right now. I didn't think there'd be much change on that. This was where I was expecting the change to come from. Obviously, I haven't looked at the policy notes yet, so we'll see. Let's see what they say. Decision today was finally balanced. Statement details to follow. So I'll keep you updated on any kind of statement updates there. But we're not really seen. I wouldn't have expected that to have caused much sort of moves. You know, if we had saw that 0.36, that is what would really kind of made me feel that we would see the downside, because that is tilting more towards cuts from the Bank of England again. So yeah, that's quite interesting. Did I expect that number to change? Yes, but they do have to be very mindful that the general election's coming up next month. So how can we potentially play this move? Well, you've got this kind of volume down here. We haven't technically tested the volumes where we're at right now, but I'd be looking more towards maybe a fade of this move if I was trading this from a day trading point of view. But the area where I would prefer to fade is down towards here or down towards these lows. That's where I'd be looking to kind of fade this particular move. The alternative to that is what if price kind of comes back up and closes above this sort of anchored VWAP here and the sort of point of control from Tuesday, which was around 126.90s. If we can kind of get back above that, I think maybe then we'll see a bit more of a move back to the upside. But we've got to remember as well, dollar's pretty strong at the minute. Let's go see how this has impacted other pound markets. Pound yen was one I like the idea of being short on recently. And the market has kind of sold off a little bit here, but where's it sold off to? That's what I always kind of look for. Where's it sold off to? Because we could still see a little bit of upside in this market. Look at that volume there, right into that point of control. If it holds above the point of control here, there could be a potential opportunity on pound yen with the idea of price coming up towards this high that formed back on Friday, the 14th of June. It's quite a complex market, pound yen, at the moment. You've got the Bank of Japan that are kind of looking to potentially do some bond tapering. And then you've got the idea of seeing a potential hike from the Bank of Japan if wages become a problem over there. And then you've got other central banks that are looking to cut rates. So the problem we've got, though, is we've still got that market in sort of a risk-on mode. We've got stocks making new all-time highs, and that is going to also go into the play of risk-on, risk-off. And if the market is more risk-on, then the yen is going to continue to weaken rather than being in that sort of risk-off scenario. You did see some reports today that the Bank of Japan will intervene again if they feel the need to. And where did that intervention come in on pound yen? It was more towards this high here at like 201.50. So I think if we actually hold this volume zone in here, you know, let's say the market climbs out of this volume, there could be a short-term play to the upside. Excuse me. This is a 30-minute time frame, so if we go a little bit lower, you know, there could be an idea that price holds here and that the market continues to push back up towards the sort of 201s. What you don't want to see is price kind of coming below this volume, closing below this volume, because we'll probably see, well, we probably will see lower prices at that point. Let me just put this over so the whole narrative here at the minute, just to see where kind of yesterday's volumes were as well, because you do have volume down towards these lows as well. So yeah, that's a potential play there that I don't mind. Potential for a little move upside there. Yen's still a weaker currency at the minute. Yeah, unchanged. Thanks for everybody for letting me know. BoE says the decision to cut rates finally balanced. Yeah, thanks, Royston. Let's have a look to see if there's any more updates on that. Yeah, so the worry is the higher than expected services inflation reflected factors that would not push up medium-term inflation. Labour market continues to loosen but remains relatively tight by historical standards. So they have mentioned the labour market here. This is where I think most central banks are going to be focused in as well on, is the labour market. It's like the Fed at the moment. I think the Fed are waiting for unemployment to climb still, waiting for some downside in those NFP numbers consistently before really pulling the trigger on any kind of rate cuts. Key indicators of inflation persistent continue to moderate but remain elevated. Need to be sure inflation will stay low before cutting rates. So we're getting this kind of similar language from the Bank of England, from the Fed in a way. Yeah, monetary policy will need to remain restrictive. You know, this is also a political play, in my opinion. They're not going to cut rates in an election period. It just doesn't happen. So two things we can kind of take away from that information. They're looking at services inflation in particular, and they're looking at the labour market. Okay, so going forward, looking at different types of pieces of data that's going to influence those two points there is going to be very important going forward. Let's go have a little look at some of it. Let's have a look at the FTSE. Let's see what the FTSE's done off the back of this. You know, leaving rates higher for longer could be a little bit difficult. Sorry, that's the futures market. Where am I going? Up here, FTSE. And FTSE's rallied. FTSE has rallied. Let's just remove all these and have a little look. Interesting. Very, very interesting. You know, usually if a market is looking to cut interest rates, the price of a market would move higher. But the Bank of England have just said they're not necessarily in a position to do that right now. So potentially a breakout opportunity here, or a false breakout opportunity here. You know, we'll just see how that kind of finishes up on the day, because if the market fails to breach this level, it could mean that we're going to come target a little bit lower, perhaps down towards this kind of 8K level. We can see obviously a consolidation that's built up around this area. You know, what is consolidation? It's volume. So that could be targeted going forward. So I'll be interested to see how this does play out here. Do we get a consistent break above here and the market moves higher, or do we kind of false break and price moves back to the downside? I think I'd be more interested in the false breakout scenario here right now on the FTSE. Pin Apple, I like the name, is dollar looking strong tonight? The dollar is looking fairly strong. Obviously, yesterday there wasn't, the US were on holiday, so there wasn't any kind of US trading going on yesterday, really, or there was low levels of it. So, yeah. But I mean, the dollar's a strong currency at the moment. You know, I like the idea of being a US dollar buyer. We've, you know, discussed this a lot in the past. You know, I like the idea of being dollar long at the moment. Again, it kind of comes down to me the difference between central banks' speeches. You know, Fed are holding rates higher for longer, yet you've got other central banks cutting rates. That to me is a point to be a buyer of the US dollar, especially against the likes of the euro, especially against the likes of the pound as well. So I'm looking at the euro and the pound, because euro ECB are cutting interest rates, and we've got the sort of idea that they could again, you know, potentially cut rates in the near future. We've got this kind of upside move on euro dollar right now, but I don't see the idea of being a buyer of this. Honestly, we've got this kind of price action where we've had a massive move to the downside again. We were looking at sort of shorting around this kind of area in the week ahead analysis video. Market has tried to break this volume on a couple of occasions and failed, and prices move lower. So I don't mind the idea of kind of looking for those selling opportunities still on euro dollar. I was short euro CAD and that hit my take profit. So I'm out of EuroCAD now. If you did watch the live stream on Tuesday. But this was the area I was kind of talking about going into this trading week, this kind of area through here, which is basically this consolidation that formed. I was looking to see, did price try and break through it? And if it did, we could go up to kind of these areas, or if it held, you know, could we see price continue lower? And it looks to me like we're holding the zone at the minute. So if we get a sort of turnaround in price, where could we try and target? So what I try to do is just use volume as my sort of window into where those kind of areas of interest could be. And I know I'm on Euro right now, and we were talking about the Bank of England, but we'll come back to the Bank of England in a second. So basically, you can see all these kind of volume prints through here. I don't know why TradingView must have a bug at the moment or something, because it's changing my volume profile every time I draw it. Like, they all should look like this first one. And I don't know why they don't. Yeah, let's see if that stays. See, look, it's changed again. Weird. But yeah, so I think maybe we could look at targets down towards here on euro dollar. I'll try and draw a volume profile on that other area. So yeah, I mean, the volume up here, that's where I'd be interested. If price came up into this level, you know, I like the idea of looking for targets down here. Sorry, my alerts are just going off a little bit. I'm just looking to see how. I mean, I was in a pound Kiwi short, but I closed it before the data, and it's continued to fall. So that's unfortunate. But yeah, EuroCAD hit targets. But yeah, I like the play there on Euro. Let's just go back to the pound then. See how the market's kind of shaping up here at the moment. Still trying to breach this kind of volume zone. Market's kind of holding. You know, if we look at the sort of value area low of that day, where the sort of third or fourth kind of highest volume was traded, market's trying to hold on to that now. So we'll see. Vincent, I'm sure EU from 1.70747. Let's have a quick look. 1.0747. Yeah, so near the highs there. Yeah, I like that. I like that. I like that a lot. Stop loss 1.0765. Yeah, like that, above that swing high there. Very nice. I'd love to target these levels down here now. Try and target these lows. Take some of your position off. That's how I would look at that. Sam, yeah, there must be a little bug in TradingView at the moment or something. Wizzy, welcome to the live stream. You're late today. Yep, you're late. You've missed the Bank of England move, but don't worry about it. So yeah, what we were going to discuss was this question. Let me go back up to here. Can the upcoming elections in England impact the pound? Absolutely, and it will impact the pound. For better or for worse, that is the question we want to be asking. I think for worse. If we do see a change of government, that usually comes with some kind of initial instability. I'm not saying it's going to be worse for the pound in a year, 2 years, 3 years. But that initial sort of shock in the market, I think, would move the markets. I think there are various sort of conditions to those moves. And what I mean by that is, I think if we get a Labour government come in, we'll see some downside in the pound. But I won't think it would be like aggressive. You know, if I look at the weekly chart, where could it kind of come down towards? Perhaps down towards this 125 handle, right? Maybe even a little bit lower, down towards the sort of 123s. Okay. I reckon if Labour come in, we're trading around 125s. Okay, we're trading around 125s. If Reform come in. Now, I'm not saying that this will happen, but the polls right now are suggesting that Nigel Farage's party are doing pretty well in the polls right now. They're saying all the right things. Then I think we'd see 123s. I think we'll see 123s. That would be a huge shock in the UK, I think. And that's where the trading, it's almost like Brexit, right? Brexit. And this is very, I suppose, useful if you live in the UK. You just ask your peers around you. You don't have to give your opinion on what you see happening, but just ask your peers around you, speak to people, you know, ask them which way they'll be voting. You know, for me, when it came to Brexit, I was asking people around me, what are they voting for? And a lot of people were saying leave. A lot of people were saying it. I didn't really meet that many people that were saying to stay, which I thought was quite interesting. And I used that information on the day to trade pound short when that happened. So, yeah, I'd say speak to people around you. If you don't have that opportunity, if you're not in the UK, then I'll be your voice on the ground. I'll be your voice on the ground. I'll do all the work. I'll speak to people, see where people are positioning themselves and going into the election, and I'll let you know my own poll. See if that works. But yeah, we'll see a lot of volatility in the pound coming up as well. Every time the closer we get to the election and the polls come out, it will swing. It will swing the market because the market will try and price in the event in a way. Let's see if I can actually get up election. That's going to bring up the US election, right? UK election timeline, I guess. Let's see if that brings us something. I probably will do an event around the general election if anybody's interested in that. Okay, so we've got a timetable here from the UK Parliament. Let's see if this gives us anything, any kind of feedback. General election 2024. So yeah, general election will be held on the 4th of July. That's the Thursday, the 4th, that I was discussing with you previously. Timetable of events up and after the date. Okay, so we've got dissolution of Parliament. Right, 1 second. Let me just see as well. I want to see if there's like an independent one as well that gives us like maybe like polls to look out for. Okay, that's not one I was looking at. Okay, Friday the 7th of June, deadline for delivery of nomination papers. Yeah, so we were already through that. 19th of June, through that. So the next kind of big event is Wednesday the 26th of June. That's deadline for voter authority certificate applications. Okay, Thursday is the polling day. Counting votes will begin. Parliament returns for the election. For the election of the speaker. I would like to see if there's someone's done a timeline of the polling votes usually, because I know with the US election you usually get kind of polls that come out in between that you can use to kind of judge what was happening. I mean, I don't think at the time, well, although again in the US there was a lot of discussions about President Trump coming in, right? A lot of polls were showing us that President Trump was winning essentially. So yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. I mean, we'll talk about the US election a little bit closer to the time, I guess. But yeah, really interesting movements are going to come up for the pound. I'll do a deep dive into the election closer to the time. I mean, it's not far away now anyway. Maybe on the week between the 1st and the 4th of July, I will do a stream dedicated to the election. Maybe point out some levels to watch at that point, because things could still change, right? We've still got sort of stuff going on in the US and things like that. But the way I'm kind of reading this right now is the pound is more likely to move to the downside. Holding that level still, though, holding this little bit of volume. You know, if I was going to be trading this, I'd be on my sort of lower time frame now, and I'll be looking for kind of breaks in any kind of structure. So at the moment, we don't have that. Maybe a break above that high would be ideal to start looking for longs again. We don't have it right now, so it looks like we're still going to see a little bit more downside on this move. Maybe the US kicks in and we see a little bit of a move there. Let's see gold. Let's have a little look at gold. Anybody trading gold right now? I put a little post out earlier whether this was a bullish or bearish pattern. So let me know in the comment section, what do you think about gold? Do you think this is a bullish or a bearish pattern? Vincent, what's your take on Aussie Swiss long? I'm waiting for the break of current H4 highs to look for longs. Yeah, while you answer the question on gold, okay, what do you think? Is this a bullish or bearish pattern on gold? Let me know in the comment section, and I'll answer Aussie Swiss first. So Aussie Swiss moving to the upside. Yeah, I mean, I would probably still be looking at this from strength and weakness at the moment. At the moment, the Swiss franc was technically strong, but now we're starting to see vulnerabilities in that because of the surprise cut from the Swiss National Bank. You know, do they want to see a weaker Swiss or a stronger Swiss? Now, they've talked about intervening on both fronts there. So a little bit unclear, but cutting rates at the moment could lead to a weaker Swiss franc, right? And that means to me that we should probably potentially see a little bit more sort of upside, right, in terms of that move there. But Aussie Swiss right now, I think I'd probably be sitting on my hands a little bit until we get some kind of defined conditions. Because, again, technically, although that looks quite nice from a weekly perspective, I'd just be a little bit cautious about longs too soon. Maybe if you got like a inverse head and shoulders pattern, then yeah, potentially on Aussie Swiss. So yeah, let's have a look then. So Tabo is saying bullish pattern. Pin Apple is saying bullish as well. CG, welcome. I've just asked the question if we think this is a bullish or bearish pattern on gold. Everyone's coming in so far saying bullish. If we have a little look, Vincent answered it on X. Yes, so if you do want to follow me on Twitter, you can follow me on Twitter. I started... Well, should I say Twitter anymore? On X? Yeah, you're probably right. I should probably say it's on X, but I've always known it as Twitter. So if you want to come join me over there, just look for John Talks FX, and you can come join me on there, join in the conversation, have a chat to me if you want. Drop me a DM. Royston says normally bullish. Wizzy saying bearish. Wizzy saying this is a bearish pattern. Really interesting dynamic going on at the moment with gold. I think, you know, we're looking at the weekly charts and we're holding the weekly lows at the moment, which would be bullish in my opinion. Do I think that there's an opportunity for price to break lower? Yes, I think that if price was to break lower, so let's just have a little look at the monthly. Sorry, if I was looking at it from a monthly point of view, I'd be saying to myself, where would I want to be a buyer of gold? And it wouldn't necessarily be in this area here. Just looking at stochastics as well, we've been very sort of top heavy for a little bit. That can happen. You can see from August 19 to the 1st of October 2020. So a very long time. It can remain that. So take that with a pinch of salt. But I'm just saying, in an overbought condition, where would I want to be a buyer? For me, I'd want to be a buyer down here. Okay, so this is where I build a lot of technical analysis from as well. Is I want to be a buyer from here, but we need to see some conditions being met first. We need to see a break of some trend in order for me to want to see price come back down towards this kind of area. And that would be a breach of these lows. If price breaches this area here, this sort of $2,003 or $2,280 area, and we trade below that, then yeah, I think we're probably going to see a little bit more downside in prices. But at the moment, we're holding. And if we go take just a quick flick over to silver, what has silver done? Silver, my alert went off for silver this morning, and silver has breached through a consolidation. Okay, so that to me is an opportunity to potentially see some more upside in silver. So are the precious metals now recovering from this little bit of downside that we've seen over the past couple of weeks? Are we starting to now see this trend continue? Because if we look at silver from this weekly chart, we've got these nice higher highs, higher lows coming out of it. Most importantly, the higher lows. So are we going to see now a continuation of this bullishness in metals? And if we look at gold, we've got this kind of hold towards these swing lows here. I would say this is a bullish pattern. In my opinion, this is a bullish pattern. Now, I actually missed out on an opportunity. You can see I've got my alert down here at 23.30 because I was looking at the volume profile of yesterday. And volume profile on CFD products is not the greatest, but it's not the worst either. Typically if you were using futures data, it'd be a little bit better. But yeah, I was looking at the value area that I had here and had an alert set there for a potential long idea. And yeah, unfortunately for me, it just held the 50 MA, held this previous low instead, and then the market traded to the upside. That's just unfortunate. I'll keep that alert on just in case the US session comes in. I didn't mean to do that. Just in case the US session comes into the market and decides to push prices lower again, because if we look at the volume that's been built on the day, volumes are built more towards the downside. So I'd like to see maybe a move down towards this zone for a potential continuation of a move higher. But I think this is a bullish pattern. 4-hour time frame to me is interesting. I like these patterns when they form because you've got key resistance here. Again, key resistance. Every time we've sold off from this resistance so far, it's been met with some buying, and the lows are getting higher. Okay, so if we were to see this pattern complete and price trade through close above, then I think that is a good opportunity to see some higher prices personally. And again, in my opinion, that's just my opinion. You have to make your own decision at the end of the day. And there's a potential for price to come up towards this 2,380. There's potential for price to come all the way back up into those weekly highs in here. But that's where I would target if we were to get a breakout of this move. Okay, so it's looking fairly good right now. So if we're all wrong and 噚𝖣𝖆 is correct, then we should see a breakout. And this is the beauty of technical analysis as well, right? Because we don't have to do anything yet. We don't have to do anything at all. And if price suddenly turns and breaks through this trend line support, great. We're not in the move. We're not trying to front run the move. We're not trying to buy the move too soon. We're basically just saying to ourselves, okay, well, that didn't work out in line with our bias. Price is now likely to come down to the next level of support, which could be those weekly lows again. So this is the beauty. And I always say this all the time. Macro gives you your idea, your bias, your why. And then technicals are your timing. And at the moment, it's looking good, but I want to see a close outside of this area. If we see a close outside of these highs, what it tells me is that sellers that are trying to get short here and here are going to try and bail those positions. Okay, they're going to try and bail those positions. And there will be strong sellers here and here because price doesn't just fall from 23.40 down to 22.96s without volume behind it. So there are sellers active in here right now. And if we look at the chart, as it's getting back to that point, look at the buying pressure starting to falter a little bit. If you go to a 5-minute time frame, look, sellers are trying to get back in the market here right now. So we might see a little bit of more of a push up, another failure, move down. But what we need to keep an eye on is these higher lows on the 4-hour time frame. As long as they continue to get higher, I think there's a good chance of a breakout to the upside. Sellers that are selling around here should bail at that point, which then could influence larger larger buying coming into the market and fuel a little bit of a move higher. That's just my opinion anyway. Let me know what you think as well, guys, in the comments. You can see we've got sort of 53 viewers. Wow. And that's normally, that's like double more than we usually get. So appreciate everybody that's in here right now. If you could leave the stream a thumbs up, I would really appreciate that. Wizzy's got a good idea here. It's currently at the 61.8 fib level on a 5-minute time frame. Okay, so if we go to the 5-minute, are we looking at this extension here? Let's have a look. I draw my fibs a little bit backwards, by the way. So 61.8, 38.2, pretty much the same thing. Let's just take those off a second. Yeah, only 4 thumbs up right now, guys. If we could get to 10, I'd really appreciate that. 10 would be the most likes I've had on a live stream, I think, whilst being live. So if we could get to 10 likes, I would really appreciate that. If you've enjoyed the information that you've got today, if you want to see more of the information, you know, do you prefer me doing live streams around news events? Let me know, because I can do that. So if we can get that to 10, I'd really, really appreciate that. So, okay, this is what you're looking at right now. Let me flip it, actually, because you said the 61.8. So I'm going to be fair and sort of flip that. Move. Okay. And we're at that 61.8 extension at the minute. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of fibs. I used to, when I first started trading, I used to have a fib strategy that I used. Was it successful? Yes. Did it get me anywhere? Kind of not really. Well, I say not really. 30% in a year I still think is quite good. But you had to go through a lot of losses. But yeah, anyway, sorry. Yeah, I don't mind that. I think if you hold this area here, then yeah, there's a potential for price to come back down. I would agree with you there. I want to see price come back down. See if price can kind of come down into this area here. So yeah, I would really, really like to look for a move down, because that gives us the idea that price is going to test volume. And if price tests those volume levels, then great. I'd really like that, because I think that gives me a bit of an edge there, because I can try and maybe be a buyer around volume, stop losses below the low. And if I look at it in terms of risk reward ratio, I can put my stop loss below the volume lows here. And it gives me a bit of breathing room for some upside. So even if price didn't break through these highs, I can still walk away with at least a 1-to-1 out of this move. And then, looking for, potentially sort of that breakout then would be a bonus at that point. So yeah, I mean, I do like fibs. I actually think there's a bit more downside as well, because I like fibs when it hits a certain number. So I'll tell you, this is what I used to do with fibs, right? The number that I used to use was the 23.6. Okay, so let me just get the fib up. And let's just say you've got this impulse leg here, right? So this is what I used to use it for. I used to go from the swing low to the swing high. So let's say people are measuring this move, right? They're measuring this move and they're looking to get long around either the 61.8 or the 38.2, right? Now, what I noticed was this 23.6 level. Okay, now we'll see if this plays out or not whilst we're on the stream. But if price closes below the 23.6 level, okay, I would say 9 times out of 10 we had a reversal of the trend. Okay, 9 times out of 10 we had a reversal of the trend. The reason being is because that is quite a deep retracement on the move. Now, obviously, the higher time frame you go, the better it worked on. So an hourly time frame, you know, it depends where you draw your fib from, because where's the technical extension of the move? Well, that's the swing low, that's the swing high. And we've come into the 38.2 and we're moving a little bit higher from that. So I always kind of used it from sort of a 4 hour and above. But to me, if we had a sort of pullback, this could be a good example sort of here, I guess. You know, the market is technically making a slight upward trend there. You know, people that are looking for the sort of bullish move higher from the 61.8 or whatever, close below the 23.6. Yes, price rises again, but you can see it comes back and reverses that move that actually took it into a little bit of a higher move there. Obviously, we have extensions everywhere at this point. This is again why I don't use fibs that often anymore, because it's very discretionary. It's like trend lines. You know, you can see I've got trend lines on my chart, but I tell you all the time, trend lines are very discretionary. It's whoever's drawn them, you know. So it's like, where's the point where you draw your fib to make it make sense? You know, that's just my opinion anyway. I much prefer using sort of volume. You can see 16 likes already. Oh, I love that. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. I can only see 5 on my end, but it depends where you're watching from, I guess. What are your favorite entry requirements, if you don't mind to share? Yeah, so 2 ways that I like to really enter the market is by using a higher time frame analysis, lower time frame change of trend. So easiest way to kind of look at that is by looking at let's just go down here for a sec. So if you find a market that's in sort of an impulsive phase, you know, whatever, and you see this kind of pullback, I'm trying to identify on a lower time frame where that changing point is. So on the low, let's say the yellow line is like a daily chart, and then on an hourly chart you've got a trend within that. I know it's not perfect, so you've got to just bear with me on the drawings, but then price starts to change. So the conditions are of a bullish phase on a higher time frame is higher highs, higher lows, right? So on the lower time frame, I'm waiting for those conditions to change in order to preempt another upward move back into that area. So a lot of the times I use the daily and the 4 hour charts. I'll try and identify areas of support and resistance, and then I'll look for conditions like this, where you've got like a double bottom pattern or head and shoulders pattern, things like that. I know people think they're probably useless, but I actually don't think they're useless. I think they're actually very good. It's not foolproof, nothing's foolproof, but if you stick with it long enough, it's very good. And what I would urge you to do is go to a chart, draw out your areas of support and resistance, and then go to a lower time frame and look how price moves, because then that will give you a condition in your mind of how price can work in those conditions, right? And then there's obviously different factors that come into it. Market can go and spike through a level of support and resistance, maybe grab some orders or whatever, grab some volume, whatever. But that is my favorite way of getting into the market, because that's what I've done for a very large portion of my trading career so far. Volumes came into it quite late. I've been, I used to trade Euro futures quite a lot, and I used to use market profile, volume profile, anchored VWAPs, footprint charts. I just felt like that was more for day trading side of things. You can use footprints for higher time frames, and it probably works really well on higher time frames. But if I was day trading right now, I'd be using volume profile. I'd be looking at those high volume areas, and I'd be looking again for those kind of turning points in the market. So I think we spoke on Tuesday about gold and about the different levels to look out for on gold. And one of those levels that we pointed out was these lows down in here. So we'll just bring on volume profile here. One area we pointed out was this one, right? And then there was another level a little higher up because price played to these levels pretty perfectly. So if we looked on the day at the time that we were doing the live stream, there were these volumes here. And we were kind of talking about seeing price kind of rally from this level into that level, find a rejection down into, again, another sort of pocket of volume, which was building at the time, which was in here. Now, the way I would play that is on a lower time frame. So usually the 3-minute time frame, or I'd actually use Renko charts quite a lot on futures trading. But essentially what I'd be looking for is the exact same conditions. Price comes down into this level here, and then look, the market breaks that condition, right? So then the market goes long, where you're looking to target that level of volume that had been produced, because to me, that's how the market works. You get a print of volume, it moves away, it goes to seek other volume elsewhere until buyers and sellers agree on a price. This is what's happening here. Buyers and sellers are agreeing on price. So that's why we've got this build up in volume. Sellers obviously won. Buyers gave up after that rally there. Buyers gave up. Sellers, again, you've got that triangle pattern, right? Buyers gave up. Sellers took over the market. Price moved to the downside. Where does it go to? It goes to another level of volume. And then it does the exact same thing. Would there have been a condition for me to short that condition? Probably not, because if I'm looking at it from a technical perspective, there is no, you got higher highs, higher lows. If anything, that would be a buy, because you've got the higher high, higher low condition rather than the lower. If this had come up and formed a double top and then a breakout, then yeah, I would have shorted that move. But no, market continued to push higher then anyway. So hopefully those two conditions make sense. Hi, Ratish. Getting confused about the time. Yeah, sorry. Usually we do 2 p.m. every Tuesday and Thursday. But the Bank of England announcement was today. So I pushed it forward so we could watch the Bank of England live. So when there's a news event on the Tuesday or the Thursday, just have a little look on YouTube, or usually... it should go out with a post, to be honest, that there's a live stream going on and what particular time it goes on. So it is typically 2 p.m. Tuesday and Thursday GMT, right? But if there is a news event around those days, that is a big news event, high impacts, such as a Bank of England announcement, I will push it to that event, okay? So the best way I'd say is just try and keep an eye on YouTube. I'm sorry, I know it's a bit up and down, but I get that. So yeah, hopefully that kind of makes sense, Vincent. Those are the two kind of favorite ways for me to get involved in the market. I also, like I said, used to trade with footprint charts and stuff. It can be a little costly to continue to do that. So that's the only kind of warning I would say about using sort of footprints. You got to pay for the data. I mean, it's not that expensive. It's like 60, 70 quid a month to have Sierra charts and all that kind of stuff. And then you can just trade the spot derivative. So what I mean by that is I was trading euro futures, but trading euro US dollars on a CFD account because they move the same. So yeah, one of the charts that we've kind of discussed this week, I need to go back through and have a little look at what we looked at. But one of the charts was EuroCAD, looking for a short position in and around this 147 area. And yeah, I ended up getting short on EuroCAD. Let me just bring down my trade terminal here. So this was my short on EuroCAD. Got short around that volume level. There was a volume zone that built up in here, and I took a swing trade and opportunity from there. I got out because there was volumes down in this area. So just a short trade there, nothing major. So I got out of that one, which was a nice trade. What else have I traded this week? Tried to trade pound Kiwi, didn't go very well. Well, so I didn't go very well. I got out of break even, and then prices since moved lower, but that's just unfortunate because of the pound data in the market. And yeah, currently still dollar yen long, still dollar yen long at the moment. Looking for continuations, and again, this actually formed a very similar pattern to what's going on gold right now. Let's have a little look at it. You've got this. Let me take these session breaks off. You got this base here, right? And then the market's forming higher lows, right? Sellers getting aggressive at the resistance zone here and here, trying to break prices lower. But look at the lows, they're getting higher, right? That tells me that when sellers have got involved, they're either getting out of their positions pretty quick, or buyers have taken their orders on the other side. And now we've broken that area. So I'm looking for a move up to 159 right now on dollar yen. Okay. Right, guys, we've been going for about an hour. I'm probably gonna leave it there, but I really appreciate the amount of support this stream has had today. So thank you to everybody that's commented and jumped in and left a like on the stream. That, you know, that really means a lot to me. You know, it helps the channel grow at the end of the day. We're going to try and bring guests on in the future, and have guests feature and talk. And the bigger the channel gets, the bigger guests I can try and pull to the channel, to have a chat about trading and things like that. So that's where that's going to go. If you can leave a like and support, if you are new, subscribe. And yeah, thank you to everybody that contributed today. I usually do a little shout out, so let's just do that quickly of who we've had in, just so I don't forget anybody. We had Mobish in, we had Farouk in, we had Herc, we had Carol in, we had Royston. Thank you very much, Royston. Sorry, I missed your analysis there, Abdul. So thank you for putting that. So thank you to Abdul. Pin Apple as well. Love the name. Vincent, Wizzy. Thank you very much for jumping in. Tabo as well. CG, as always. Thank you very much for joining. Ratish as well. Really appreciate that. Yeah, Vincent, I think people like the new stream events. Yeah, I think they do as well. And obviously it kind of offers us a little bit more of a opportunity to speak to you guys and see the live trading reaction, because I think that's what everybody wants to see at the end of the day, looking at the live possibilities within the market. So yeah, if you want to come chat to me, guys, feel free. Head over to John Talks FX, or you can just at Blueberry Markets on Twitter. You can also come speak to me if you're a Blueberry client in the VIP trading room. So thank you to everybody again. The next stream will be Tuesday at 2 p.m. I promise you that one. And yeah, I will catch you guys there. Really appreciate you all. Thank you for taking your time to watch. Speak to you soon.